Right now on the National Weather Desk, blizzard warning. A storm brings heavy snow and strong winds to the plains, where the storm is heading next. There's not enough snow on many ski mountains, frustrating skiers and business owners alike.
Right now, we've had 17 inches the whole season.
The role weather played in making 2023 one of the best wine vintages ever in the Napa Valley.
As a winemaker, I feel very lucky to have experienced this vintage.
We'll look at some of the extreme weather events that made 2023 so memorable.
It brought Tulare Lake back from the dead.
And how to keep your Christmas tree from turning into a fire hazard.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Blizzard warnings remain in effect across parts of the northern plains today as snow, ice, and wind will plague the region for another day. Several inches of snow fell across Nebraska yesterday, making it one of the few places in the country to experience a white Christmas. Getting around was tough, both for people walking and for those behind the wheel of their cars and trucks. Several big rigs slid off highways, leading state police to close the roads. Remember, a blizzard by definition isn't always about the amount of snowfall. You need snowfall, period, combined with winds in excess of 35 miles per hour and visibility of less than a quarter mile for at least 3 consecutive hours. Reporter Steve White is in Grand Island, Nebraska with a look at conditions there.
Days ago, it was 60 in central Nebraska, but Christmas Day brings heavy snow and high winds, making travel treacherous. Steady snow falling around the clock, resulting in dangerous travel conditions and reduced visibility, a quarter of a mile or less in places. The Nebraska State Patrol reported multiple wrecks on Interstate 80. The snow continues into Tuesday with additional snowfall expected. Blowing and drifting will remain a concern for a few days, even as the blizzard warning expires. And after an extended stretch of temps in the 50s, seasonal temps will settle in. Emergency management officials urge folks to avoid unnecessary travel until the wind and snow subside so crews can get roads cleared. And for some kids, it will be a Christmas to remember, not just what was under the tree, but also what's happening here at their favorite sledding hill. Reporting in Grand Island, I'm Steve White.
As the storm moved east, it brought snow and ice to North Dakota and Minnesota. Several highways are closed this morning. Also this morning, there's an ice storm warning for many parts of the upper plains. Meteorologist Mark Pena is here with a look at where the storm is heading next.
Blizzard warnings for portions of the upper Midwest from the Dakotas all the way to eastern Colorado. We got wind gusts in the forecast up to 55 miles an hour with some heavy snowfall there as well. Now, where's the system going next? Now, we're going to track it as it continues to march towards the east. Thankfully, the snowy conditions with this system will begin to mix out, and we're looking at just another heavy rain event for a lot of portions of the northeast quarter all the way down towards the southeast, bringing additional heavy rainfall, and this will likely be impacting your travel for the next couple days, so just make sure to pack your patience as you head to the roads and on the airports.
The snow as well as fog caused the biggest problems for air travelers over the weekend. On Christmas Eve, 500 flights to and from Denver were delayed or canceled because of the snow. And at Chicago's Midway Airport, 40% of all departures were delayed or canceled due to fog. So far this morning, we aren't seeing any major problems yet, but with that storm in the plains, there's a good chance there will be more delays and cancellations. It's been a slow start to the ski season in many parts of the West. Lee Stoll looks at the situation in Lake Tahoe and Western Washington.
It's been a very slow start to the ski season around Lake Tahoe in California. Many resorts in the Sierra Mountains have less than half of their runs open.
We get a little blast here in a couple days and see another wave of people come up right after New Year's.
According to the Lake Tahoe Snow Report, snowpack levels are just 51% of normal.
Last year we had about 4 feet of snow, so everything was open, the whole mountain. Right now we've had 17 inches the whole season.
Conditions are a bit better in the Cascades. The summit at Snoqualmie says they picked up about 8 inches of new snow on Friday, just in time for the holidays. Almost everything is open. At Stevens Pass, they've gotten 5 inches of snow over the last week and have 70 inches so far this season. And at Crystal, 7 of 11 lifts are open and they have 56 inches at the base.
And despite the lack of snow on the mountains, people in Washington went looking for a white Christmas yesterday, and many found it. As Paul Rivera shows us, sometimes you just have to know where to look.
The rain was icy, and maybe there was a snowflake or two in there, but there was no doubt that the magic of Christmas was falling for those who traveled up to Snoqualmie Pass. What are you doing up here today on Christmas?
We gotta have him see some white snow.
Tony Dutt and his 2-year-old son Landon taking a tiny tractor out for a spin before going to Grandma and Grandpa's house.
He's drifting out there.
This is the best gift you could ever have right here.
We're scoping out some places to go sledding, but also where the dogs can enjoy the Christmas too.
One by one, Mira and her boyfriend introduced us to their furry family of 4. Are you ready for the snow?
Cisco the husky.
Okay, Cisco the bingo.
Bingo the boxer.
I love this. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
And it wasn't just people driving through the summit to get to their Christmas Day destination. People were also busy snowboarding and skiing, hitting the slopes at the resort. How do you think it's going to go?
Great, we're gonna shred it.
Well, I'm gonna do snow tubing here at the summit.
Is it like being with your family on Christmas?
It's awesome. I mean, we're Hispanic, so we celebrate Christmas the 24th. But the 25th, we just kind of enjoy the snow.
And that is what it's about. Freezing rain or not, the snow was on the ground, the memories were made, and plenty of fun was had.
Well, 2023 will go down as the warmest year in at least 125,000 years. But it wasn't just the heat that reminded people of climate change. Bill Weir looks back at some of this year's extreme weather events.
Science tells us that 2023 was the hottest Earth has been in 120,000 years, shattering records in ways that are hard to comprehend and creating events that frankly exceed our imaginations. Who could have imagined 31 straight days over 110 degrees, even in Phoenix? The rate of heat deaths in Maricopa County has climbed 25% a year for 2 years running. And desert cities everywhere are realizing the need to build cooling into public policy. But in the same megadrought, who could have imagined rivers in the sky dumping so much water on California that it brought Tulare Lake back from the dead?
If you'd stood here for the last couple of generations, you'd be watching the sunset over dusty fields of cotton or alfalfa or pistachio trees, and now it is waterfront property.
This new age of water whiplash means too much H2O or never enough across huge swaths of the nation, forcing farmers and water managers to reimagine how every drop is used or wasted.
This is the first of what will be many barges that can bring about 500,000 gallons of fresh water at a time.
2023 forced the economy to reckon with a Mississippi River too low to move food like it used to, and too weak to keep Gulf saltwater from creeping into drinking and irrigation supply. And when West Maui was the lush Venice of the Pacific, no one imagined how generations of water theft and invasive grasses would turn the capital of the Hawaiian kingdom to tinder, or the hurricane winds that would blowtorch the precious town of Lahaina into ash in the deadliest American wildfire in modern times.
It's just unrecognizable. One of the most charming, beloved port cities anywhere in the world is just scorched like a bomb went off.
And whether you want to blame or credit climate or El Nino, Christmas looked much different across the country than a year ago. This map shows you the snow depth across the nation, which stands at just over 17%. But check out the difference from just 1 year ago when 53% of the country was covered by snow. By the way, the historical average is just under 37%. We'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll find out why 2023 was such a good year for California winemakers. Plus tips to help your Christmas tree last through the new year.
I'm meteorologist Ryan Munn with a look at the Northeast. Notice for the day today, we are looking at mainly cloudy skies, temperatures running in the 40s for most areas. A couple showers possible off towards western New York and Pennsylvania, but heavier and steadier rain moves in for the day on Wednesday. Here's 10 o'clock in the morning, and we have steady rain off to the west, and this slowly moves east through the daytime today, so expect rain for the day Wednesday. High temperatures topping out in the 40s to near 50.
Hey everyone, I'm Wyatt Everhart. Let's get a check of that forecast. And after such a nice Christmas day, this day after Christmas featuring increasing clouds and yes, the chance for showers, especially late today after about 3 o'clock into the evening hours. Scattered showers, some could be heavy at times, and then even heavier rain building up off to the west, set to arrive into Maryland on Wednesday. Otherwise, temperatures not really going particularly cold on us. The next several days will probably work our way up close to 50 degrees for high temperatures.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your Southeast forecast highs for the day. We're looking at 53 in Nashville, 64 in Raleigh, Charleston, 68 degrees, 70 in Macon, Tampa right around 73, and then Mobile at 62 degrees. It looks like we have spotty showers across the Carolinas, drier air towards Memphis. Florida's getting a little bit of clouds and showers, but it looks like this frontal boundary will continue to move east. Still a little bit of remaining showers across parts of the I-95 corridor up towards Raleigh, but we'll start to get drier conditions moving in towards the weekend.
The National Weather Desk.
And welcome back. Let's check to see the weather in some cities across the country today. We'll start in Chicago with a great view of the river. Skies are cloudy early this morning, giving way to more sunshine in the afternoon. Temperatures are expected to reach a high of around 43 degrees. And a look here at some holiday lights in Caldwell, Idaho, just outside Boise. Snow will taper off and end this morning, but skies will remain cloudy throughout the day, with highs expected to top out around 25 degrees. Now to Kansas City, where it's cloudy right now. Snow showers will develop in the afternoon, with highs right around 37. And a look here at a very foggy Warwick, Rhode Island. That fog will give way to partly cloudy skies this afternoon, with highs near 50 degrees. Napa Valley winemakers are toasting the 2023 vintage as possibly one of their best ever for both reds and whites. Extreme weather has played a role. Cornell Barnard takes a look at a vineyard in California.
Bells were ringing earlier this season for the 2023 grape harvest. Back then, few winemakers knew how good this season was going to be.
I was telling someone the other day that I'm not sure we'll see another vintage like this in our lifetime. I feel as a winemaker, I feel very lucky to have experienced this vintage.
Burgess Cellars winemaker Megan Zobek says anticipation for the 23 vintage is off the charts in the Napa Valley for both reds and whites. She believes there's something special about this harvest. Grapes have big energy and complexity.
You just know, like when you taste it, you know, you're just like, oh my gosh, this harvest. This is incredible.
I think it's going to be one of the best vintages I've worked at in Napa by hands down. These are young vines.
Macy Stubstad says the cork-popping news comes after one of the longest growing seasons in a decade. Some grapes weren't harvested until October or November due to a cool spring and drought-busting rains, which slowed the ripening process but created lots of hang time on the vine.
So when the vines woke up in the spring, about 2 weeks later from 2022, they came out with a lot of energy, good reserves to be able to grow, full canopies.
Napa Valley grape growers with a membership of nearly 700 are also declaring 23 as one of the best.
our growers are saying high quality, high yields, which is somewhat unique. And yeah, definitely one for the record books.
These vines are now dormant for the winter, but after a challenging decade of wildfires, smoke, and epic drought, there's now something worth raising a glass to.
Grape growers and winemakers, this community remains they adapt. They're in farming. It's what Mother Nature throws their way.
And this year, the vineyard gods seem to be smiling. The 2023 year should be ready to taste in about 1 to 3 years.
As a winemaker, it's almost like that wave that you chase if you're a surfer. You always hear about it. There's legends about it. You don't know if it actually exists. And then this year we had it.
Well, after storms brought heavy rain, wind, and waves along the shores of South Carolina last week, beaches are still recovering. Officials are collecting data to see how the storms impacted erosion. Lauren Lennon has more.
After heavy rain, wind, and waves along the shores, our beaches are still recovering. One Folly Beach staff member says on average, about 20 feet of sand dunes were pushed back to land.
If you go down to the Isle of Palms or to Folly Beach, portions of those communities that before the storm had a high dune or had a lot of sand in front of the houses actually fared relatively well. Portions of the beach that had a relatively narrow beach or had relatively low dunes did not, and we ended up seeing some damage, yes. So it's kind of a mixed bag. It depends on the recent project history, really.
Barano says the coastal science team has been collecting data for the state for about a decade.
We're ultimately looking at the elevation of the beach surface, how it changes over time. We're measuring it from where it doesn't change, so landward of the dune, all the way out to 20, 30, 40 feet deep water way offshore. And using those elevation data, we can sort of group certain profiles together that are adjacent to one another and keep track of the volume of the beach over time,
providing helpful information to protect land and property during storms.
There are pretty strong relationships between the amount of storm damage you see after an event like what we saw on Sunday and the volume of a beach. And so if you can maintain a certain threshold, minimum, ideal volume, then you can sort of guarantee your community that storms up to a certain intensity will not cause substantial damage.
I also spoke to the project manager for the Army Corps of Engineering Charleston District about the upcoming renourishment project. He says they are planning to award a construction contract by the end of the year and have the project completed before the 2024 peak hurricane season.
In Wisconsin, it's winter boaters causing erosion along local rivers. As Eric Peterson explains, when river locks are closed during the winter season, boaters are forced to find their own way around many dams on the Fox River. Now officials are looking at ways to solve that problem.
With kayaking becoming more and more popular, paddlers need ways to get around the many dams on the Fox River.
Most of the portages require you to lift or carry your personal watercraft probably 150 to 180 feet. So that'd be about 50 or 60 yards.
Fox River Navigational System Authority Executive Director Phil Ramlett says those locks typically operate on the weekends in the summer, leaving people to create their own way around. Officials say that can damage the shorelines and cause erosion around the 17 locks themselves. To help the situation, Fox Locks hopes to raise $150,000. The entire project cost is about $495,000. Phil Ramlett says upgrades could include wooden and stone reinforcements as well as some landscaping too. He expects construction to begin in the spring.
We think that there'll be more and more people that'll use the system, which is important and part of our mission, but also the people that use the system, it'll be a much more safe way to get in and out of your kayak and your craft and to move it around the locks when the locks aren't open.
19 years ago today, a major earthquake struck in the Indian Ocean off the coast of Indonesia, leading to one of the deadliest tsunamis in human history. Meteorologist Emily Gracie looks back at that tragic day.
December 26, 2004, a 9.1 magnitude earthquake struck nearly 20 miles below the Indian Ocean floor. The earthquake itself caused extensive damage, but was nothing compared to the tsunami that soon followed. The tsunami radiated out in all directions, striking the Indonesian islands as quickly as 20 minutes after the earthquake, with waves reaching heights of 167 feet and caused flooding up to 3 miles inland. Shortly before the tsunami struck, water was pulled away from the coastline, exposing the ocean floor and causing many onlookers to run up to the beach. The last major tsunami that formed in the Indian Ocean was in 1883, so unfortunately, public awareness was low and there was no official tsunami warning system in place. 17 countries were impacted and 250,000 people lost their lives. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie.
And before we take a short break, we take flight over the Guest River Gorge in Southwest Virginia.
Good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Take a look at what we've got across the Midwest. We got some blizzard-like conditions out across the western plains here. Now, as we take a look at the Ohio Valley, warmer with temperatures close to 60. So we've got quite the difference in conditions across the area for the day today. This entire storm system shifts a little bit more east as we head into your Wednesday, and again, even a little bit more by the time that we get to Thursday, with any precipitation on the lighter side.
Good Tuesday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look at our forecast across the region on this day after Christmas. Well, we're going to have a few passing clouds across the region, but otherwise mostly sunny skies. Not a bad late December day. We'll have high temperatures in the upper 40s from Oklahoma City to Amarillo. Most of us know in the 50s, even some low 60s down to the south. Overnight, a few showers and storms in the Gulf, but that will stay offshore. Otherwise, just a cold night, 30s and 40s for overnight lows, and then we're back with a lot of sunshine on your Wednesday.
I'm meteorologist Kristen Clark, tracking the weather makers across the West. Hey, Denver, your snow is going to be wrapping up gradually throughout the day Tuesday as that plains low begins to move east of the area with still a blustering north wind along the I-25 corridor in the Front Range. And while one front dissipates over the Pacific Northwest, the next one is just in line behind it. That'll eventually bring back the wet weather to Seattle and Portland by Wednesday. And that's with the weather from here.
The National Weather Desk.
Well, the Christmas holiday is over, but a lot of people keep their tree up into the new year. This is when trees can present their greatest risk of fire. Meteorologist Lindsay Storrs has some tips to keep your tree from turning into a fire hazard.
Nothing lights up a room quite like a Christmas tree, but if a Christmas tree isn't properly cared for, it can become dangerous. Did you know that half of the house fires in the U.S. occur between December 22nd and January 5th? Here's some tips that can keep your Christmas tree from turning into a fire hazard. If you get a live Christmas tree, check it for freshness before you buy it. You never want to buy a tree that's already dry. Once you get it home, you'll want to cut 1 to 2 inches off the bottom to help it absorb water better. You'll want to water the tree daily and get rid of the tree as soon as it gets dry. Regardless as to whether you have a live tree or an artificial one, you'll want to make sure your tree is at least 3 feet away from any heat source. Throw away any lights that have worn or broken cords or loose connectors. Never connect more than 3 strands of incandescent lights together, and turn off the tree lights when you're leaving home or going to sleep.
Thank you for joining us. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great Tuesday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.